Chapter 2: Fundamentals of Digital Assets. A proper understanding of cryptocurrencies begins with mastering the core terminology and then gradually moving towards blockchain technology, the foundation of all digital assets. Newcomers to the crypto space often hear about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies without truly understanding what stands behind these concepts. In this chapter, we will set aside the secondary details and focus on the key concepts and mechanisms that form the backbone of the entire digital asset and cryptocurrency ecosystem. You will gain a clear understanding of what blockchain is and how it works, how mining functions, and why halving events can influence the market, as well as the role of smart contracts and the problems they are designed to solve. Grasping these fundamental mechanisms will help you build a comprehensive understanding of how digital assets are structured and the role they play across different layers of the financial and technological system. The goal of this chapter is to establish a solid foundation for your continued exploration of digital assets and the underlying technologies that drive their value, resilience, and long-term potential.
Part 1: Digital Assets. Digital assets are any form of value that exists exclusively in digital form and can be owned, transferred, stored, or used as a means of payment or investment. They operate within decentralized or centralized digital systems and are typically built on blockchain technology, a distributed digital ledger that ensures transparency, security, and immutability of data. Unlike physical assets, such as gold or real estate, digital assets have no tangible form, yet they can carry real financial or functional value. In many ways, they are similar to equities in the stock market. They exist purely in digital form and are recorded in electronic ledgers. The term digital assets is broad and includes several key categories. Coins. These are native assets that operate on their own independent blockchain networks. Their primary purpose is to serve as a medium of exchange, a store of value, or a digital form of money. Tokens, assets created on existing blockchain networks. They do not have their own blockchain, but instead rely on another platform to function or to perform specific use cases. Examples include Uniswap, UNI, DAI, and Tether, USDT, which are built on the Ethereum network. NFTs, non-fungible tokens, a specialized type of token. Unlike standard tokens, which are fungible and interchangeable, NFTs are unique and non-interchangeable. They are commonly used to verify ownership and authenticity of digital items, such as artwork, collectibles, and music. Stablecoins, digital assets pegged to the value of a real-world asset or another cryptocurrency, most commonly the US dollar. Popular examples include USDC, USDT, and DAI. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Centralized digital currencies issued and controlled by a country's monetary authority or government. CBDCs represent official fiat currency in a digital format. Part 2: Blockchain Technology. As we know, the first practical implementation of blockchain technology was the Bitcoin network, launched in 2009. This innovation marked the beginning of a new era of digital interaction, one where control and trust are distributed among network participants rather than concentrated in centralized institutions. Blockchain is a distributed database shared across multiple participants within a network. Data is not stored in a single central location, but across many computers worldwide. This architecture ensures transparency, security, and immutability. Imagine a ledger or record book where every entry is timestamped and cannot be erased. That's essentially how blockchain works. Blockchain systems can have different architectures: public, private, hybrid. In addition, various consensus mechanisms determine how participants agree on changes to the data. This flexibility allows each crypto project to be uniquely designed to solve specific problems and meet particular needs. Core components of blockchain. Blockchain technology is built on 6 key components that ensure its reliability, security, and efficiency. Distributed ledger technology, DLT. A distributed ledger allows data to be stored simultaneously across multiple computers worldwide. This makes the system resilient to attacks and node failures. Even if some nodes go offline, others maintain copies of the data, ensuring uninterrupted operation. Imagine storing all transactions on a single server. If it gets compromised, the data is lost. In blockchain, data is replicated across numerous nodes globally, providing redundancy and strong protection against data loss. Public key cryptography. Cryptography ensures the confidentiality and authenticity of transactions. A private key remains with the owner and is used to sign transactions, verifying their legitimacy. A public key acts as an address to receive funds or assets. Importantly, the private key cannot be derived from the public key. For example, when you receive Bitcoin, you are given a public address. To prove ownership, you sign transactions using your private key. Consensus mechanism. Consensus ensures that all network participants agree on which transactions are valid. The most common mechanisms are proof of work, POW, and proof of stake, POS. POW requires significant computational power to solve complex mathematical problems. In Bitcoin, miners perform these computations to validate transactions and add new blocks. POS selects validators based on the amount of cryptocurrency they hold and are willing to stake. In Ethereum, validators create new blocks proportionally to their stake in the network. Decentralization. Decentralization means that no single entity controls the entire system. Decisions are made collectively by network participants. This reduces the risk of censorship or manipulation, as no central authority can alter transactions. For example, when you transfer cryptocurrency, there is no need for a bank or intermediary. The network of distributed nodes verifies the transaction. Smart contracts. Smart contracts are self-executing programs that automatically enforce the terms of an agreement. They operate based on predefined rules and do not require third-party involvement. This reduces fraud risk and increases efficiency. For instance, when purchasing real estate through a smart contract, ownership can be transferred automatically once all conditions, such as payment, are met. Immutability of records. Data recorded on the blockchain cannot be altered or deleted without modifying all subsequent blocks, an almost impossible task. This ensures a high level of protection against tampering. For example, if someone attempts to alter transaction data, such as withdrawing funds fraudulently, the inconsistency would immediately be detected due to cryptographic hashes linking each block. Understanding these components provides a solid foundation for grasping how blockchain systems operate and why they are considered one of the most transformative innovations in modern finance and technology. Blockchain consensus mechanisms. The most critical element that ensures the integrity and operational logic of any blockchain network is its chosen consensus mechanism. It determines how participants agree on which transactions are valid and how new blocks are added to the chain. This choice directly impacts not only the efficiency of the network, but also the emergence of key processes such as mining, halving, validation, and staking. In networks based on proof of work, POW, mining plays a central role. Mining is the process of solving complex computational problems required to add new blocks to the blockchain. Alongside mining, there is halving, a periodic reduction in block rewards designed to control inflation and support long-term network stability. Blockchains such as Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dash are built on proof of work. In proof-of-stake systems, the logic differs significantly. Transactions are confirmed through validation, and the right to create new blocks is assigned proportionally to a participant's stake in the network. This approach dramatically reduces energy consumption and improves efficiency. A key component of POS is staking, the process of locking up assets to participate in transaction validation and network security. Today, Ethereum, after its transition, Polkadot, and Cardano utilize proof of stake. Ultimately, the consensus mechanism defines not only the technical architecture of a blockchain, but also its economic model. It determines how the network scales, defends against attacks, and maintains long-term stability. Understanding consensus principles provides insight not just into individual cryptocurrencies, but into the logic of the entire blockchain ecosystem. Proof of work, POW, mining, and halving. Mining and halving are two fundamental components of the proof of work consensus mechanism, first implemented in the Bitcoin network. They are deeply interconnected and together ensure the security, stability, and long-term sustainability of the system. Bitcoin provides the clearest real-world example of how these mechanisms operate. Mining is the process by which network participants, miners, perform complex computations to solve mathematical problems. These problems are essential for validating transactions and adding new blocks to the blockchain. Miners compete with one another using specialized hardware and significant amounts of electricity to be the first to find the correct hash for a new block. Each new block contains transaction data for a given period and is cryptographically linked to the previous block, forming a continuous chain, blockchain. In POW systems, the principle of first to solve applies. Only the miner who successfully solves the problem first earns the right to add the block and receive the reward. This model serves several critical functions. It incentivizes participants to maintain and secure the network. It makes the system highly resistant to attacks. Altering data would require recalculating all subsequent blocks faster than the entire network combined, which is practically impossible due to the enormous computational cost. Halving is a programmed event in POW blockchains where the reward for creating a new block is reduced by half. Its primary purpose is to control the issuance of new coins and protect the system from excessive inflation. With each halving, fewer new coins enter circulation. This gradually slows supply growth and introduces a deflationary dynamic. Unlike traditional financial systems, where money supply can expand with few constraints, blockchain rules are embedded in code and remain consistent over time. How the Bitcoin network works. The proof-of-work mechanism in the Bitcoin network is designed so that a new block is created approximately every 10 minutes. This is the average time required for a miner to solve the computational challenge, add a block, and receive a reward. This interval is maintained through an automatic difficulty adjustment mechanism, which recalibrates the complexity of mining tasks based on the total computational power of the network. Difficulty is adjusted roughly every 2 weeks, or every 2016 blocks, ensuring a consistent operational rhythm regardless of the number of miners. Halving occurs every 210,000 blocks, approximately once every 4 years. During each halving event, the block reward is reduced by half. 2009, 50 BTC per block. 2012, 25 BTC. 2016, 12.5 BTC. 2020, 6.25 BTC. 2024, 3.125 BTC. This mechanism steadily reduces the rate of new coin issuance and controls inflation within the Bitcoin network. The supply of new Bitcoins entering circulation continuously declines, a rule embedded in the protocol since its inception. Halving also forces miners to adapt, seeking more efficient technologies and optimizing operational costs to remain profitable over the long term. Over time, the role of mining as the primary source of new Bitcoins will diminish. Transaction fees will gradually become the main incentive for network participants, allowing Bitcoin to transition from an issuance-driven system to a mature, self-sustaining financial network capable of maintaining stability for decades. The post mechanism, staking, validators, and smart contracts. Networks that operate on proof-of-stake, POS, use a mechanism called staking instead of energy-intensive mining. In this process, participants, validators, lock a certain amount of cryptocurrency into a smart contract. In return, they gain the right to verify transactions and add new blocks to the blockchain, earning rewards for their participation. This way, network security is maintained through the economic incentives of participants rather than through electricity consumption. The first network to implement proof-of-stake was Peercoin in 2012. However, this mechanism gained real mainstream recognition much later when Ethereum fully transitioned to POS in 2022. This move significantly reduced the network's energy consumption and made it more resistant to centralization, opening a new chapter in blockchain infrastructure development. Staking can be viewed as a form of trust in the network. A user voluntarily locks their coins for a certain period to become a candidate validator. The larger the stake, the higher the chances of being selected to participate in block production. At the same time, many networks also take into account validator reputation or use pseudo-random selection mechanisms, which improves fairness and reduces the risk of power concentration. Validation is the core process in proof-of-stake. One validator proposes a new block, while others verify its correctness. If the majority of participants confirm that the data is valid, the block is added to the chain and validators receive rewards. Compared to proof of work, this approach requires significantly fewer resources and allows the network to scale more efficiently. Smart contracts play a key role in staking. They hold validators' assets as collateral, distribute rewards, and automatically apply penalties to dishonest participants. If a validator violates network rules, their stake can be partially or fully slashed, confiscated. This model creates strong economic incentives to act honestly and maintain network stability, ensures efficient scalability, and significantly reduces energy consumption compared to proof of work. The algorithm of the Ethereum network. New blocks in the network are created approximately every 12 seconds. Users initiate transactions, which first enter the mempool, a queue of unconfirmed operations. When a sufficient number of transactions accumulates, the network moves on to forming a new block. Ethereum uses a pseudo-random selection algorithm to choose a validator from participants who have staked at least 32 ETH. The selection process takes into account the size of the stake, the validator's activity, and their reputation. This means that even under similar conditions, different participants may be granted the right to produce blocks at different times. The selected validator constructs a new block from transactions waiting in the mempool and executes them using the Ethereum Virtual Machine, EVM, which verifies all parameters, conditions, and digital signatures associated with each transaction. After that, other validators independently verify the block and vote on its acceptance. If the majority agrees, the block is officially added to the blockchain. The validator's reward consists of a portion at transaction fees and additional incentives for block production. The reward size depends on the amount of ETH staked and overall network activity. Validators who help confirm the block also get rewards, though the amounts are smaller. In the first half of 2025, Ethereum is scheduled to implement the Pectra upgrade, which will increase the maximum effective validator balance from 32 ETH to 2048 ETH. This may significantly impact the staking structure and the economics of network participation. Other consensus mechanisms. Delegated Proof of Stake, DPoS, allows users to vote for delegates who create blocks on behalf of the network. This improves speed, but reduces the number of direct participants. DPoS is used in networks such as EOS, Tron, and Steam. Proof of Authority, POA, is based on reputation. Only designated validators, trusted by the network, are allowed to produce blocks. This mechanism is fast and energy efficient, but more centralized, so it is typically used in private or enterprise blockchain systems. Practical Byzantine Fault Tolerance, PBFT, ensures network resilience even in the presence of failures or attacks. Block confirmation requires agreement from at least 2/3 of participants. This approach is well suited for permission networks such as Hyperledger Fabric, Ripple, and Zilliqa.
The architecture of a blockchain defines how a network operates, who has access to it, and how decisions are made. Today, there are several main types of blockchain architectures, each designed to solve specific problems, and each with its own strengths and limitations.
Public blockchains are open networks that anyone can join. Users are able to perform transactions, view all records, and participate in consensus by acting as full network nodes. This model forms the foundation of blockchains such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. It provides maximum transparency and decentralization, but may sacrifice speed and scalability. Private blockchains operate on the opposite principle. Access is restricted and control is centralized in the hands of pre-approved participants. These networks are often used by companies or organizations for internal processes, where confidentiality, data processing speed, and access control are critical. The trade-off is a significantly lower level of decentralization. Hybrid blockchains combine elements of both public and private systems. Some data or functions may be open to everyone, while others remain accessible only to a restricted group of participants. This approach allows for a balance between transparency and privacy and works well for business models that operate with both public and sensitive data simultaneously. Consortium blockchains are governed not by a single organization, but by a group of participants. Control is distributed among several companies or institutions, such as banks or industry alliances. This model is often used where a shared infrastructure is needed among multiple major players, but without full public openness. To summarize the differences between the main types of blockchain architecture, it is useful to view them in a comparative format. This table highlights who has access to the network, where each type is used in practice, and what advantages and limitations it brings. The following diagram further summarizes the key characteristics of public, private, hybrid, and consortium blockchains, helping reinforce the material and explain why different architectures coexist to solve different problems. It is important to note that blockchain technology is constantly evolving and adapting to different use cases. There is no universally best or worst type of blockchain. The effectiveness of each depends entirely on the specific goal, requirements for privacy, speed, scale, and transparency. Every project selects the architecture that best aligns with its objectives and intended application. Key advantages of blockchain. After exploring the fundamentals of blockchain and how it works, it's time to look at the real-world advantages it brings to individuals and businesses. These benefits go far beyond theory. They are already reshaping how we interact with finance, data, and digital assets. Security. Blockchain protects your data and assets through cryptography and the absence of a central point of control. Every transaction is encrypted and linked to the previous one, making the system extremely resistant to fraud. For you, this means peace of mind. Your data and funds remain protected from malicious actors and cyber attacks, and the likelihood of abuse is significantly lower than in traditional centralized systems. You gain direct control over your data and transactions, creating a fairer digital environment. Decentralization. Blockchain distributes information across a network of computers, removing the need for intermediaries and centralized authorities. No single person or organization has full control. This means less censorship, less corruption, and greater transparency. You gain direct control over your data and transactions, creating a fairer digital environment. Transparency. Every transaction validated by the network is recorded in a public ledger. This makes it possible to track all activity, and it is nearly impossible to alter information without the awareness of other participants. For companies and governments, this increases accountability. For you, it builds trust in the operations you engage in. Privacy. Blockchain combines transparency with privacy. Your transactions are visible on the network, but identities remain protected through pseudonyms or public keys. Technologies such as zero-knowledge proofs allow transactions to be verified without revealing underlying data. Private blockchains also provide controlled access, which is essential for enterprise use cases. Ultimately, blockchain respects your privacy and limits the intrusive data collection often seen in centralized institutions. Speed and cost efficiency. Amid ongoing debates around the scalability trilemma, it becomes clear that public blockchains currently lag in terms of speed and cost efficiency. However, private and hybrid blockchains are already leveraging the technology to enable fast and cost-effective transactions. Unlike public blockchains such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, which face inherent scalability limitations, these networks can adjust block size and production speed to enable near-instant transfers with minimal fees. This avoids delays and costs associated with traditional systems like SWIFT, which rely on multiple intermediaries.
While private and hybrid chains may sometimes compromise on security or decentralization, they significantly reduce intermediaries, pushing the boundaries of blockchain efficiency. As the industry evolves, these innovations also lay the groundwork for public blockchains to catch up, ultimately helping address the blockchain trilemma by balancing scalability, security, and decentralization for the broader ecosystem. Tokenization. Blockchain enables real-world assets to be converted into digital forms, or tokens. This makes ownership transfer faster and cheaper, increases liquidity, and opens new investment opportunities. Assets such as real estate, art, intellectual property, and financial instruments can all be tokenized. Financial accessibility. Blockchain opens financial services to hundreds of millions of people, especially those in remote regions without access to traditional banking systems. It operates independently of trust or bias, allowing individuals to access financial tools without barriers. Smart contracts and dApps. As mentioned earlier, smart contracts and decentralized applications, or dApps, are transformative components of blockchain technology, offering unprecedented autonomy and control to both developers and users. Built-in autonomy reduces reliance on intermediaries, which often leads to lower costs, while also minimizing the risks of manipulation, fraud, and human error. Smart contracts and dApps typically run on Layer 1 blockchains, or base layer networks, ensuring resistance to censorship and external control. This expands user freedom and guarantees access and interaction with applications under virtually any circumstances. Additionally, without centralized authorities, developers can avoid the high fees typically charged by traditional app stores and platform ecosystems.
Blockchain as the foundation of digital assets. In the digital age, blockchain and cryptocurrencies are often mentioned in the same context, as if they were the same thing. This confusion is completely understandable, but it also prevents a clear understanding of their true value. To fully grasp the real potential of these technologies, it is important to clearly separate their roles and functions in the modern digital world. Blockchain is the underlying technology, while digital assets, cryptocurrencies in particular, are one of its practical applications. When they work together, blockchain serves as the infrastructure on which the entire system is built. It ensures data storage, transaction verification, and network integrity. Every operation involving digital assets is recorded in a block and added to a continuously growing chain of data, which is simultaneously stored across thousands of computers around the world. This structure makes the system both transparent and extremely resistant to tampering. The decentralized nature of blockchain means that no single individual or organization has full control over the network, significantly reducing the risks of fraud, manipulation, and technical failures. For users, this translates into a higher level of security, trust, and stability, even on a global scale. Understanding this relationship reveals a broader picture. Cryptocurrencies do not exist in isolation. Their value and functionality are directly dependent on blockchain, which ensures the accuracy, immutability, and transparency of all transactions.
Part 3. Cryptocurrencies. After getting familiar with digital assets and the fundamentals of blockchain technology, it's time to take an important next step and understand the core difference between coins and tokens. These terms are often used side by side and sometimes even grouped under the umbrella term altcoins, which only adds to the confusion. In reality, they are not interchangeable. Each has a distinct meaning within the crypto ecosystem. Understanding this difference will help you navigate digital assets more effectively and better grasp how different blockchain projects are structured and what opportunities they create for users. Coins are digital currencies that operate on their own native blockchain. They perform the basic functions of money within a network, acting as a medium of exchange, a store of value, and a means of paying transaction fees. Classic examples include Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Tokens, in contrast, do not have their own blockchain. They are created on top of existing networks and form part of broader ecosystems. Tokens are used in decentralized applications, dApps, DeFi platforms, NFT projects, and other services where they serve functional or financial roles. Well-known examples include USDT,
Uniswap, and Chainlink. Altcoins refer to all cryptocurrencies other than Bitcoin. This category includes both coins with their own blockchains and tokens built on existing platforms. Understanding this structure significantly simplifies working with digital assets. It allows you to quickly assess the maturity of projects, pay attention to whether they have their own blockchain, choose crypto wallets more effectively, and clearly understand how transactions actually take place.
Past IV, Web3. After exploring the fundamentals of digital assets, blockchain, tokens, cryptocurrencies, and altcoins, it is logical to take one more step back and look at the bigger picture. All these elements do not exist in isolation. They come together to form a unified ecosystem that shapes a new model of digital interaction. This model is commonly referred to as Web3, an internet that is gradually building the economy of the future. Web3 is an evolutionary stage of the internet, built on the core idea of decentralization. In the Web2 world, control over data, platforms, and financial flows is concentrated in the hands of large corporations. Web3, however, fundamentally changes the concept of digital ownership. Here, users gain real control over their assets, personal data, and participation in the governance of online environments. In this model, traditional intermediaries are no longer required. Trust and transparency are ensured by blockchain, while each user independently manages their wallet, digital identity, and interactions with platforms. You are no longer just using services. You are effectively owning a share of the digital space you participate in. Web3 versus Web2. It is important to understand that Web3 is not only a technological shift, but also a philosophical transformation of the internet. In this system, every participant stops being a passive consumer of content and becomes an active co-creator and co-owner of the digital environment being built collectively. To better understand the difference between Web2 and Web3, it is useful to examine the key elements of the digital environment. This is not only about technology, but also about who owns the data, who controls financial flows, and how a user's digital identity is formed. This environment creates an open economy where transparency, accountability, and long-term incentives become the foundation of trust. As a result, power is redistributed from centralized platforms to decentralized networks governed by their users. This shift also enables new forms of digital coordination, such as DAOs, where decisions are made collectively rather than imposed from the top down. Ultimately, Web3 aims to create a more equitable and user-driven internet where value is shared more fairly among all participants. Below is a comparison of the two web generations. This is where new mechanisms of collaboration, investment, and governance are being formed, reshaping the way we understand digital markets. Web3 is not an abstract idea of a distant future. It is a reality already unfolding today. Key takeaways of the chapter. 1. Own blockchain and network. Coins operate on their own native blockchain and have an independent network that handles transaction processing and ecosystem support. Tokens, on the other hand, exist on top of external networks and rely on shared blockchain infrastructure resources. 2. Functionality. Cryptocurrencies with their own blockchain independently power their transaction systems and ecosystem operations. Most modern tokens function exclusively through smart contracts, relying on the infrastructure of third-party blockchain networks. 3. Consensus mechanism. Native blockchains use consensus mechanisms such as proof of work, proof of stake, or delegated proof of stake to ensure security and decentralization. Tokens inherit the consensus model of the underlying blockchain on which the project is built. 4. Type of blockchain. Some networks are open and public, while others are private or hybrid. Everything depends on the goals of the project.
tokens can exist on any of these blockchain types. 5. Understanding altcoins. Altcoins include all cryptocurrencies except Bitcoin. They can be either assets with their own independent networks or tokens built on existing platforms, each with different consensus mechanisms and blockchain architectures.